Today was Venice and it was wonderful. So I know my sets are just beautiful and beautiful. We're staying in kind of discount type hotels to, you know, keep costs down. It's just really luxurious looking. I mean, it's kind of schmanz, but like old schmanz, like it used to be fancy. The bathroom has like shamrocks everywhere. It's like shamrock wallpaper. It's interesting, and there's carpeting everywhere, so the sound quality is actually quite nice. Anywho, let's get to the good stuff, the stuff about Venice. Oh my gosh, it is so, so beautiful. So we started the day, we drove over to Venice, so we're actually staying, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes outside of Venice. So we drove there and took a boat in. The boat maybe took 15 minutes or so, and it was just so exciting to be getting there, just because you've heard about it a million times. You've seen it in a bunch of movies like The Tourist or Italian Job or whatever. But to actually go there and see it, so cool. So we got there and you saw the Doge's Palace and the Bridge of Sighs, and they're gorgeous. They're so detailed, and you can just feel the history. And then St. Mark's Square, and then St. Mark's Basilica. So cool. And there's this beautiful bell tower that used to be sort of like the lighthouse. They had apparently a lot of gold on it, and they'd light candles to make it reflective so ships would see it in the night. It was just really cool to see it. Also really interesting. I've seen clips of it in movies, of course, and I've heard descriptions in books, but I didn't realize that it was sort of L-shaped. I always pictured it as one rectangular sort of area, so it was really interesting to finally see that. We got there and we did a walking tour, and the lady was lovely. I really, really liked her. We've had some really nice tour guides on this. So we walked around the city, and she talked about how, you know, you should get lost in Venice, blah, 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 because it's pretty easy to find yourself. Like, it's a pretty small area, but you can definitely see, because there's so many narrow streets that twist and turn and such, you can definitely see that you could get lost easily. I, of course, am using my compass in my mind. I have this thing where I'm constantly thinking, like, which way is the water, or which way is north, if I know what that is. So I was kind of tracking that, and I was also estimating time with what she was saying and looking at the map. And then she just told us some fun little stories along the way that I thought I would share with you guys. So she talked about how Casanova originated there, and that, you know, he had many lovers. We're like, yeah, we've heard that. And he's like, she said, but he actually fell in love with a nun, and he kept taking a boat every day, or a ferry every day, to see her because he was in love with her. And then eventually, I guess he convinced her to lead the convent, to leave the church. And apparently, allegedly, they took a gondola back. And back in the day, the gondolas used to be covered. They had sort of screens around them so you could have privacy. And apparently, they got it on. Who knows? But kind of cool that they were covered. I wonder why they don't do that anymore. After that, we saw the huge bridge, oh my gosh, over the Grand Canal. Really cool. Again, I've seen it in movies, but to actually see it, and the sound is so different too. I mean, you hear the gondolas and the gondoliers yelling and talking and stuff, and you hear the motorboats, of course, but they're only allowed to go 5 kilometers within the confines of the city. But other than that, when you're walking through the streets, and my mom had mentioned this before, and so I made sure to take note of it, but you don't hear cars and stuff. You just hear voices, maybe footsteps if someone's wearing heels, the gondolier is yelling, and then every once in a while you can hear a motorboat. But even that is very rare because there's so many twists and turns. I don't know. It was just really cool, really magical for sure. She also talked about the different masks. You know, they had the big long one, and that was the doctor's masks during the Black Plague. And she also mentioned, I'm not sure if it's all masks or just some of the masks. Maybe it was a particular one she was pointing at. They were used for gambling, so people would wear them so they could gamble. And like if, you know, the police basically came or were trying to break it up, they wouldn't see what they looked like. They could run away and no one would know what their face is. And she talked about there was a traditional black one, so it's all of the lady's face, just the eyes are showing, no mouth or anything. And it was supposed to make her very mysterious so she could have her affairs. So that was also an interesting fact. After that, we went to Murano and we saw a glass blowing demonstration. So really neat to see that in person. I've seen a lot of Chihuly videos, but to get to see it in person was really cool. We didn't get to go to Murano, the island. There's just a little place that does Murano where we were. So neat to see that. And then the gentleman was explaining why it's so strong. They use 24 karat gold throughout a lot of their pieces, which apparently gives it more structure. And then he was talking about how they get the different colors. So kind of like fireworks in my mind. Of course, that's where I go. I love fireworks. And they were talking about how they use copper to get green, magnesium to get this reddy purpley color that they actually use in their lamps around the city. And then I wrote a couple down too. Cobalt is for blue. It was just really cool. And the red is the most expensive because it does have a bit of gold in it as well. It has, I want to say, psyllium and gold in it. So really need to find that. And he had these gondolier glasses. We weren't allowed to take photos, so sorry. But he put it down and he flicked it, and we're all like panicking because this glass is probably worth 68 euro. And it tipped and went right back up, so they call them gondolier glasses, I guess. Because if you're on a wavy boat or something, your drink will still be safe. Neat to see that. After that, we headed for a boat, which was headed for Burano. Now, I hadn't heard about Burano until this trip, and my mother sent me an article called, like, it's the most Instagrammable city or something. Holy chipotle, was she right. It's magical. So it's a fishing city, and there's a bunch of different stories why they have these beautiful colored houses. So here's the ones that they told me. One, you know, it's foggy and stuff, so it's easy for them to pick up their house if they have a bright color. Two, they'd get super drunk and they wanted to make sure they ended up with the right wife. Ha ha ha. Three, they paint their boats these vivid colors, and they paint their houses once a year as well to help sort of waterproof them against all the mist and the rain, etc., etc. That last one sounds the most plausible to me, but hey. I went around trying to find something that matched my shirt. So I got one that was pretty good. I got this other one that was much better, and I tried to do like a jump thing, but the girl, I don't know, man, there's been a couple people on my tour who are just really calling in, taking photos for other people, which I always find frustrating. I always try to give a person the best possible photo, and some people are just like, yeah, come on, people. But whatever, doesn't matter. I got a lot of really beautiful shots of all of the houses, and we also had this big, like 5 million course meal, like a traditional Italian meal. So you could do chicken, beef, or fish. A girl and I did, she did fish, I did chicken, and then we shared everything. So good. There was like I think it was cod, some kind of fish pate. So it's sort of like tuna salad, but a different, I believe it was cod. And you would spread it on crackers or on a bun. Really delicious. There was a seafood lasagna, and then there was a meat lasagna. There were deep fried shrimp, deep fried calamari, there was salad, there was chicken. It was chicken breast. It wasn't anything to write home about. The chicken was pretty casual. And then there were these really dry, terrible cookies. I'm not a huge fan of the Italian cookies so far. We had one biscotti that had almost a bit of meringue, probably egg white, but with a bit of sugar on it one time, and that was pretty good. But other than that, I find they're just kind of dry. I imagine you're supposed to dip it in your espresso, but life's too short to eat bad cookies. I love good cookies. So we walked around after that, took a bunch of photos, jumped back on the boat, came back to the main area of Venice. Got back there, tried to go up the bell tower, didn't work out, ended up just walking around a bunch. Oh, we went to this really cool bookstore. I had seen it in a documentary about Venice sinking, and I thought it was all the shops were sort of like this, but apparently it's just this one. They put a lot of their books in bathtubs. There's one in a gondola. They also allow cats in there. They have food every once in a while. And you can buy books, you can buy postcards. They have some damaged postcards, I guess, from the water that you can buy also, which is kind of, I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool. They have a big wall of books. It was just nice. So this one girl and I just walked around and looked at the beauty that is there. Oh, we also had this beverage called the Bellini. So I've had Bellinis at chain restaurants, and it's like a puree of ice with like peach schnapps, and it's really sweet and bleh. This, oh, my mother got it for me one time. It's the original Bellini, and it has sparkling wine in it and pureed peach, and apparently she said they pick them during peach season specifically. Only during a special time do they make this, so that's why it might be a bit pricier. Oh my gosh, it was delicious. So today marks the end of my tour with Kentucky. It was really great to have people to go around with, and I got to chat with a lot of different ones, and it was really fun. But I have to say I'm really looking forward to having some alone time. 5 days in Rome. I am meeting up with a friend of a friend, so that'll be interesting. Meet a local. Yeah, I think it'll be really fun going back to Rome, doing the Vatican, the food tour, and a few other wonderful things. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back soon.